Right now.
The clerk has arrived. We can start the meeting.
You all set?
All set?
Guess we'll call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, let's see. Public hearings. Nothing. Presentation from our reg director / town clerk.
Well, I just want to make select person. Bob Butler cannot be here tonight,
Okay. For the record.
for the record.
You are up.
I am up.
Front and center.
All right.
Over here?
Let me up there.
Yeah.
We just, okay. What are we talking about first?
Just so we can.
Well, go with recreation first, because I'll supplement you with your town clerk report. New clerk.
Okay. So you just want
Don't be nervous.
to, no, I'm just making sure we're on the same page. Am I talking about?
I would give like an update as
Oh,
far as what
just
you've done
what we've
since
done?
since your last budget meeting,
Gotcha. So like,
and then what you want to do.
okay. So since COVID hit, I pretty much shut down completely. Most of you know, through the summer, I worked with Public Works, and now I'm town clerk / rec director. Starting 2 weeks ago, we started back up with our adult co-ed softball league. We have 13 teams, which is the same we had last year. We had one team disband and another team join, the same amount of teams. We put in a few restrictions to, keep the gameplay itself is not restricted, but when you're not playing the game, they're staying spaced and they're not shaking hands after the game and stuff like that. But it's going very well so far. We're 3 weeks in. It's going well. And then I guess the next question is whether or not we're going to have youth soccer or not. I've had a lot of parents calling and asking whether or not we want to do youth soccer, and I just don't know what to tell them. I've come up with a plan that I think follows all the guidelines and is as safe as we can make it, but I wanted to get your input on it, I guess. It's a tiered approach. We'd start more towards the end of September, give the kids a few weeks in school and kind of see how that shakes out. Make sure, if the kids are going to school and there haven't been any cases and things are going well, maybe we can take those same kids, from Waldeboro and play some soccer, because they're going to be seeing each other at school for the most part anyways. The first week or two we would call phase 1, and that would just be skills and drills. They'd all be practicing at the same place, but kind of separate, not a lot of shared item. Like they wouldn't be passing to each other, be dribbling and whatnot like that. The phase 2, if that goes well for a few weeks, would be games amongst your own team. So they're called the Community Guidelines Plans for Youth Sports. Calls it a cohort. So we put them in cohorts of like 10. So they'd be practicing with each other to start, and then maybe just playing against each other. And then if that went well, the third phase would be the last couple weeks to have them play games against other cohorts, and maybe even, I know Warren talked about maybe mixing in a little bit with just RSU 40, not going our usual Mid-Coast League to Rockport and Rockland and all that. It follows the community guidelines. I just read them again. Pull them up here. So that's exactly how they define them with the risk. It almost goes in order. So they have 6 levels of risk. We would be starting at level 2. Level 1 is just playing at your house by yourself or with your family. Level 2 would be team-based, like we talked about distant group activities. And then if we moved up to level 3, it's within team competition. And then level 4 is competition between other teams from the same geographic region. Level 5 is competitions between teams from different geographic regions, and level 6 is different states. And we obviously wouldn't be going that far. Within that, soccer is considered a moderate risk sport, as defined by the community guidelines. And it is recommended that it be played levels 1 to 3 indoors or outdoors, and level 4 is outdoor only. So level 4 is that like games against other teams or other, against like Warren. So it says level 4 outdoor only, we would be playing outdoors, so technically we would fall in that guidelines if we were to do it that way. So that's kind of my plan. I didn't know what you guys thought about that.
Does anybody have any questions?
So you're going from level 2 to 4
It over 5 weeks.
over a period of time?
That's
your
kind of the goal.
is
As
to-
long as things stay safe and there's no school shutdown or outbreak, that's the goal.
Okay, and will all of the work be done outside?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would be organizing it. I mean, it's gonna have to be similar to co-ed softball where I organize it here in the office, but it's gonna be coach dependent. I'm gonna need more coaches than usual, and they're gonna have to do, if they want soccer, like it seems they do, because I've been getting phone calls every day, that, once I get the teams organized and the shirts ordered, it's gonna be kind of pass it along to the coaches, and, I can do the organization from here, but they're gonna have to line fields and do that stuff if it gets that far.
And the age range?
My normal age range is kindergarten through 6th grade.
Okay. These are like the ones you do out at the high school?
Yeah, so that's the other, I haven't reached out yet. I know we usually do kindergarten, 1st and 2nd on Saturdays at the high school, and then 3rd, 4th play at the rec fields, and 5th, 6th play at 80 Gray. And the third through 6th is a night or two during the week and Saturdays, whereas kindergarten, 1st and 2nd is just on Saturdays, usually. But I don't know if the school's gonna let us use their facility. They didn't for co-ed softball. I'm not sure, I think it'll be very dependent on whether or not they get back to school full-time, and whether or not the MPA pushes through with high school sports. If that's a go,
I think that's still up in the air.
it is. They pushed it back to the 14th
Correct.
for the decision. But
How many youths are you talking about between kindergarten up through 6th?
most,
Any idea?
yeah, I don't know about this year, but on an average year, we're somewhere between 120 to 140 kids.
It's a lot of kids.
So I would break, usually, the kindergarten 1, 2, it's all one group. They just all show up to the high school on Saturday, and they're split up into teams of 6 or 7, and they practice with their teams, and then they play a little game, but there's 50, 60 kids up there running around. That's gonna have to be restructured. If we do that young, it's gonna have to be, there are teams of 10. You might be able to have 2 teams practicing on the same field as long as they stay on opposite sides, but space restrictions are gonna
Sure.
limit that.
What's the scheduling? What time does that entail?
5 weeks. I planned September 20.
But I mean, as far as your time,
My time,
scheduling it.
scheduling it can be done at the office, but, taking registrations and scheduling, it kind of depends how much scheduling I'm gonna need to do. If it's just practices, it's not that big of a deal. If we start playing games with Warren, it might be a little bit more. But it's not gonna be the usual. Usually I put together a schedule for, the whole Mid-Coast League of, 15 teams on 20 fields and 3 different age divisions.
Because I know when you talked earlier about scheduling, can't remember exactly what it was, but it took you like 40 hours to
That's
schedule.
Little League.
Little League.
Little League is.
It takes
a
you,
lot,
so it's
yeah.
gonna,
Soccer is not that bad.
okay.
Little League has T-ball, farm team, I guess they call it lower minors now, upper minors and majors. So there's 4 divisions in Little League, and they play on like 14 fields across 5 different towns. And I got a lot of coaches that coach multiple teams, so I can't schedule them at the same time.
Yeah.
I've been getting better at the scheduling. It doesn't quite take me a week now, but that one is a beast.
So you're confident that with these modifications, you can do, because obviously my concern is you're now the town clerk, and we're coming into the biggest election we've seen.
Yep.
And you're confident that that can be all accomplished in that time frame.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's my main concern, because honestly, that's, that first week of October is going to be
Yeah.
hellacious
Right, and so.
with
I'm-
getting the ballots out and things like that. And I mean, you'll have help with that, but I just, you
With
know,
the time frame I put forward, I got, it's on this.
the registration would occur before that first week, correct?
Yeah, so I got September 26th to October 24th. And so that, that first week of October is gonna be right in the middle of it. And so I'm not gonna be taking registrations.
Okay.
Gear.
They'd already be
So
in.
it's essentially, it's already kicked out the door and hopefully running itself. I'm not gonna be able to be as present as I like to be and as normal, just because of the change in dynamic. But then, obviously the election won't be over, but hopefully the ballots and stuff are out, and by the time October 24th rolls around, I can start collecting gear and stuff like that and have the time to do that. That's kind of my plan with it. So I know it'll be tough, but these kids have taken a beating. They haven't had anything to do since March. They're ready to play. So I'm getting 4 or 5 phone calls a day, text messages, Facebook messages. Parents want to know if they're gonna have soccer.
Maybe a backup plan would be in order, just in case. Maybe you can get one of the other coaches to help you schedule and get everything down in case you can't. Maybe someone else can.
Yep, I know I've had coaches volunteer to kind of take on a bigger role already. I'm not that worried about the scheduling, but
Everything else.
it's getting the equipment out and getting stuff organized on like the first Saturday and stuff like that. Maybe I'll be able to be there a little bit. But
Maybe emphasize that to them greatly, that
it's
you
gonna
can't
be
do it
different.
yourself.
It's gonna be different.
Yep, oops.
So my next question, and Marcus and I talked about this, because if something happens, people have paid their $25. Is that the normal registration fee?
Normal registration fee for it.
And then something happens and they don't get to play because the school closes or something happens. My question to Marcus is, should we charge? And then he came back right at me and said, one of the things they found is that if you charge, people tend to show up. If you don't charge, it's like, I don't have to show up.
Which would be a little bit less of an issue this year with the, it's not, and we might get to games by the end of it, but it's, our normal 5th, 6th grade season is, 8 games I think they play, and, they're on a team with only, some of these teams only have 10, 11 players, and then you get that one kid, I didn't pay anything, I'm gonna go do this weekend instead. The team gets, maybe the team has to play shorthanded, it becomes a problem, so that's what I haven't experienced that because I've always charged the $25. That's what Kyle did before me, and I just kept it there. But I know some of the smaller towns in our Mid-Coast League have had that problem. It might not be as big of a deal this year, but
What is the equipment expense? Like you said, you had to order shirts and stuff like that.
about $6 to $7 a shirt.
So it's gonna cost you $800 easily for shirts.
If we have all 130 kids come back, yeah, it could be that high.
So we should be charging something, I mean,
Well, we'll charge something, but
Yeah.
maybe not the full 20.
Yeah. But what do you
what do you recommend? I mean, to cover the expenses.
to cover, I should be good on soccer balls. The only other possible expense, and it is if we get that far, where we need fields lined, is paint. Little League buys 10 cases of paint, and then I buy it off them for the remainder for soccer season. And we didn't have Little League, so I don't have that much paint left. If I need to paint a ton of lines, I might have to order some more paint.
Should we charge $10, $15, or
Yeah.
should we stick with the 25? I mean, we're asking you because you're the one that's running the program.
Yeah, we have our scholarship program in place, so if people need that type of assistance on the $25, it's fine. I guess the problem is if, we make them pay $25, we go 2 weeks and then school gets shut down and we get shut down, you know, are they out there $25? Is it just a no refund policy and because we already ordered their shirts and the paint, or?
Yeah, I think it has to be a no
Yeah.
refund.
Yeah. And just either make a point of that or just go $10.
Could I come up with like a compromise?
Sure.
Why can't you charge $25 and say 2 weeks in, you've got to shut down, you refund them 10?
It's possible.
That way you've got your 25 right up front. If you go the whole season, you've kept it. If something happens, refund 10 and you're not out anything for the cost of the shirts, the paint or anything like that.
Well, I'm just, the only concern of that is then you gotta turn around and refund everybody their money, and that takes town time and stuff like that, so that's one thing I was trying to avoid.
Yeah.
With, you know, if you charge a price, say
Run the whole season
10 or
and don't
15,
have to worry about it.
right, if you charge $10 or $15 now and says, well, this is your shirt cost and lines and stuff, that's non-refundable.
Yeah, I'd say somewhere between $10 and $25, either non-refundable or.
Would $15 cover the expenses non-refundable?
Yeah,
Is that adequate?
fine with me. Then they're getting a shortened season anyway, so.
Right.
I mean, $25 for what they get has always been a bargain, you know.
Yep.
If they
And I
go
think
through
that's the excuse we
something
get,
like
I think that would be the
they're
excuse we're gonna use too, is because of the short season, we're not gonna charge the full price for, so it doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's gonna be the following year.
Yeah,
And you might encourage more people. I know it sounds silly, but at $15, people might say, hey, for $15, I'll sign my kid up. And you might get more people. You never know. People, because I do agree with you. I do think that there's a need there and people want.
Do we have to make a motion to do
No,
that?
it's within his purview,
Okay.
but it's one of those things that when we had decided that you guys were gonna look at these individually, especially when it came to the kids, and that's.
so I know I talked to Julie already, we've kind of thrown around some COVID-specific waiver ideas and some templates, stealing something from other towns. Is that something we should get together and have the kids sign or the parents sign before?
When the registration, they should sign it. And honestly, you know, I've asked the MMA and they're like, you know, there's plenty out there. I think one you gave me was way too complicated and one was very simple, and it's just to say, hey, you know, these are the inherent risks and you're okay with it. You're never gonna, if they're going to school.
Yeah.
It's such a tough thing.
And now, the idea of keeping it in school was that these kids were gonna be going to school together already. Now, the end of my plan was kind of to branch out towards Warren. Do you think that's feasible? And at the same time,
I think that's your call.
okay, and at the same time, Waldeboro, you know, I'm the Waldeboro Recreation Director, but, I mean, as a RSU 40 district, there's pretty much only Waldeboro Rec and Warren Rec. I pretty much service all of Friendship and part of Union and Washington at the same time. Are we all right bringing those kids in, even though they don't go to school with the Waldeboro kids at this time? I guess is a question. It's the same district. You know, it's going to be kind of hard to tell the Friendship kids that have come up and played soccer here for 4 or 5 years that they can't come because they live in Friendship and not Waldeboro, but we are, this is a town.
Open to all kids. How can you not say no to some kid?
Do
I
they
have a hard
offer?
time doing it, but
Yeah.
these are hard times, so.
Do the parents get the kids to the soccer practice?
Yeah, it's all parents.
It's all
parent driven.
okay.
But isn't Friendship, they're all part of the district?
They're all part of the district, but at this age level.
Right, I understand Friendship has, I understand with the littler ones, there's,
Yeah, so this is a K-6 program, so Friendship has their own school. You know, there's 5 schools, 5 towns.
yeah, I guess the issue is if Friendship School closes,
Yeah, I mean,
I think then, but then if one school closes, I think we close. I mean, that's,
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I'd rather offer it for all and not tell
I think if you're going to offer it, it needs to be for all.
as normal as possible. And we did, you know, some of the, I mean, I am gonna throw out some of the Maine Principals Association put out some guidelines for soccer that they were gonna follow at the high school with like no slide tackling. It's kind of taking part of that game out, and then They didn't do it up there, but we talked as a Midcoast board kind of before all this, that we're gonna take out the throw-ins, and just have them kick it in, and that'll limit the hand contact and, no heading the soccer ball to keep the face germs away from it.
What about gloves? Do they normally wear gloves?
Goalies wear gloves.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Should the players possibly?
If they shouldn't be touching it with their hands
Right,
at
well-
this point. And then the same as,
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But
part of it.
I'm not saying rubber gloves or anything, I'm talking,
No.
playing gloves.
Yeah, no. It's,
we even talked about, well, could we maybe we get away with charging nothing, but they'd have to use pennies, and we're like, well, no, because then they have to share the pennies. No, we want them to have their own shirts. So it's.
so, yeah, the shirts are usually, they're cotton t-shirt with a logo on the front.
Mhm.
Usually $7, $6-7.
Is everybody fine with this?
I'm good.
Guess you're all set? I guess somewhere around $15
Fine with me.
to cover your expenses, where it's a short season.
Yep.
So,
Sounds good. You excited about that?
cool.
So the next part is the town clerk part. Marcus has, I was explaining you started on September 1st, and Abden said you're 8 days into it. And I said, well, technically there was a 4-day weekend, so we really only 4 days into it. But I have him here captive, so I want to say there has been no greater employee, and I'll probably get hit for this because everybody has given so much, but truly Marcus, his attitude during this entire thing, when his budget was cut and his put me wherever you need me, Marcus has been in Public Works for a majority, well, since what, April till August 31st. Everybody, your attitude was phenomenal and wonderful. When he started back in the office on September 1st, again, came in with the most positive, incredibly positive attitude you could ever imagine. And I just want to thank you for that, because a lot of people would have just said, but the versatility and just the happy attitude has been greatly appreciated. And he's went into the clerk's job, not knowing much about being a clerk, but we're learning on a daily basis. But his customer service is impeccable. And I could not be more grateful nor more proud of what you've accomplished over the last few months and the grace in which you've done it.
Thank you.
And we owe you a thank you. We're up to, after today, over 500 absentee ballot requests already.
Processed 100 today.
He processed 100 today.
Awesome.
So we actually might be into 600 now. We're processing, he's learning about marriage licensing, certified copies of marriage, death, and birth records. And honestly, the elections is the bulk of right now what he'll be doing. Tomorrow, both Marcus and I start training for BMV. So Marcus and I will be able to supposedly register and re-register vehicles, but we'll see how that goes. Rose is she keeps telling me it's not as easy as you think, and I know it's not as easy as I think. So, but hopefully that will help we've had the backlog, and as everybody knows, July 11th, you had to register, you had to start registering your vehicles again. And nobody did it up until July 11th, and then everybody came in. So now we're about 2 months into that, and we're still booked 2 weeks out. So hopefully that will help a lot once Marcus is trained. And we're also technically, you need a appointment to register new vehicles or new to you vehicle. We have loosened up, and people are coming into the office, especially with tax time coming up. Marcus is at the first window, so he's our gatekeeper. So when people come in, they can be directed. And again, there's a limit to how many people can be in the foyer, and it's 2. So Marcus, that's part of his job. And I hope people understand, it's just a matter of how many people can be in at a time and the sheer backlog of registrations, so, it wasn't fair to make you do the town clerk report only being here for 4 days, but, so that's where we're at, is, tax bills are going out, and, people will be able, if they need a receipt, we're asking everybody, please use the box as much as you can, but if you need a receipt, Marcus can issue receipts. But we're starting to get back to some level of normalcy.
So you still need an app,
You need an appointment for any new to you, and you need to call, if you want to do re-registrations. Again, we have the online services. If you're not comfortable with, we highly recommend the online service. If you're not comfortable with that, you have to call, find out how much your excise tax is. Once you know your excise, you can leave your application, your information in the box. During the day, we process it, and then we call you. By the end of the day, you have your registration. People actually are finding that, especially for the re-reg, that they don't have to stand there. They can just drop it and then pick it back up. They actually like that, because then they're not standing here and waiting.
just so you know, I'm still getting calls.
And just so
I
you
gave
know,
them your number.
and I haven't heard from anybody.
Huh, well,
Call me on my cell
they
phone.
wanna know why they can't walk through that door. That's the big thing right there, but
Why they can't?
yes,
They can.
For what?
to come in and do any kind of business.
But that's, again,
I know,
they can walk through the door to do business, but you need an appointment if you're going to
I don't
register a
want the
vehicle.
appointment. They
I
wanna be able to come through that door and do their business just like before.
know they do,
I
but
gave them your number, I did what you
my
told me.
issue, because, and it's not just they can't do that at the BMV in Rockland. They can't do that at the BMV in Augusta. They still need appointments. So we're doing the best we
I
can.
know,
I know, you know, I'm just, but yeah, they
I just
need
want
to
you to
call
know
me
that I'm
and.
still getting calls.
Well, and some of those people just also don't want to follow, we had somebody in the other day who didn't want to follow the rules. We had 2 people standing in here, and then, they want to come in with 3 people, and we're like, you can't, you have to wait. And they didn't feel they needed to wait. And I'm like, but we have to comply. We get now, we've been getting a lot of complaints from the state, because you can go onto the state and fill out a complaint form electronically, and then the state sends it to us. Max, you've seen them, correct?
Which ones?
The complaints for non-compliance from the state, and then we send out. So I'll get an email that says this establishment wasn't following the rules, blah blah blah, and then I give that to Stan and Richard, and they go out and talk to people. We've had 3 this week, all restaurant related. So we also had, so there is a mechanism for people, and that's what we're trying to avoid, because I can only make half the people. So if I said, okay, you can come in and it can be more than 2 people, we're not following the rules, I'm going to find the person who's unhappy. So I just, it's such a delicate balance, Katie, it really is.
I understand.
So half the people are happy, half aren't. We're trying to please everybody.
People some of the time.
Right. But, so I think that's where we're at, like with the clerk's job. And like I said, Marcus is doing great. He's a quick study. It's from my standpoint, as somebody who was doing that job, both jobs, it's taken, a lot of time to do both, and he's a welcome relief.
I guess you're all set, Marcus.
Thank you.
Be free. Go home. You had a long day.
I thought there was more.
Oh, what are we doing more?
Middle of school, maybe.
November.
Ballot
Ballot
questions.
questions.
Oh, go back up. I'm sorry.
You want to
I
take that out of? You want
Well,
to take
I
that
want
out
to
of?
just can we do his part first?
Does anybody have any problem with that?
Go home.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry.
You're good.
Did you come up with some?
A few.
Okay.
I wasn't exactly sure what you wanted,
So
so.
on the ballot that we're going to send out, since we have a captive audience and it's going to be a huge turnout, obviously the number one question is going to be whether or not the residents would be willing to spend X amount of dollars on a community center.
A what?
Community center.
Oh, okay.
So that's one question. I mean, we kind of know that that's the question.
Yeah,
It's the
Right.
amount.
it's the amount and what, you said maybe some other non-binding questions.
And then other non-binding would be, what would you like to see in those? And I know you guys did the,
Yeah, so we did the survey back last summer. I guess it's been a year, because we worked on it all winter and then COVID hit and kind of shut us down. But so we did the survey, and it was overwhelmingly positive. You guys were here, I did a whole report, with a PowerPoint. But is that post-COVID, is that those results still valid? But at the same time, I feel like if we were to send out another survey, people might get upset and just say, you guys have surveyed us on this, now 2 or 3 times. Either just do it already or don't do it or whatever they feel. But so I guess that's where I'm at with it. Are we gonna take those survey results and run? Are we gonna do more with it? What do you want to put on this for questions? I think about a ballot, and I guess I don't think about what kind of multiple choice question.
well, because I think that obviously if we're going to bond for it,
Right.
that's a binding question.
Right. I understand that part. It's,
But
it's the non-binding ones that confuse
right.
me. I guess.
I guess from my standpoint of view is we have this amazing opportunity where we're going to have huge voter turnout.
Right.
So let's find out how many responses did you have to the
388 out of 2460, somewhere in that range.
Right.
2480. So
you'll get
16%.
and you'll get better representation,
Right.
obviously, from putting something on. So my question with for you and the recreation committee is, were there any questions you wish you had better insight into, or what people would like to see in a facility?
Yeah, I mean, I guess those. I printed those 2 questions off. What it was question 11 on the survey, and it was, what priority level would you give the following spaces on a recreation center? And the number one that people wanted was an indoor walking or jogging track, and then like a teen activity area, group exercise, gymnasium, and multi-use outdoor space were the top 5. And so then like free weights and multi-purpose floor, swimming pool, kitchen, and multi-purpose rooms were the bottom 5. And there, it kind of went in that order. And, there's a pretty good spread, I'd say, between the top and the bottom, but a lot of stuff in the middle was kind of murky. And I guess it's going to depend, what do people want and how much are they willing to pay for it?
Well, and that was the other thing is I thought so that might be a great question to put on there.
Yep.
But I thought the other question that might be good would be, what price range are you willing to pay per year
Right.
to be a member?
Right, and so, I mean, there's, I did go down, this was back last winter, to North Yarmouth and checked out they have a newly renovated facility. They had an old elementary school that they turned into a recreation center, and they basically built multi-purpose space off of it. But they don't do a lot of, they don't have like a fitness center or anything in it. It's not a membership-based building. It's all on rental. They rent it out 24/7 as much as they can, and that's how they fund the building. So I don't know if that's another way we'd want to go, but you might have, it's a different viewpoint. You might not have to fund a pool or a fitness center to go that route. So that was something I thought about, but then I looked up, like, how much do you want to pay? I looked up the CLC for a family membership is $59 a month if you make $44,000 a year or more, and it's $39 a month for a family if you make less than $14,000. And there's tiers in between, so you can go each way if you do go membership. But if there's no membership, it would just have to be rental prices. I don't know.
So we just have to decide what those questions should look like. So those were the two areas would be the, what services you would like, and we
Yeah.
should just repeat that question 11.
Yeah, we could.
And then
Just
what-
get more results. I mean, I was kind of surprised how they ended. It wasn't how I would have ranked them myself, but that's why we did the survey. You know, everybody has their own different viewpoints on it. But I mean, most of them are pretty accurate. We got 60% of what we sent out, which was pretty high for a volunteer survey. I think the average is around 10.
It was. Yeah, no, it was.
But getting more info is never gonna hurt.
Well, that's kind of how I think the select board approached it was, you know, we should know.
Yep.
And I think on the binding questions, you're gonna have to, and I asked Lee Bragg about today, I sent him an email to ask him how we could figure out what the threshold is for when we ask for the binding question for funding. You know, there has to be, you know, people might not be willing to put in 3 million, but are they willing to put in 1.5 million, you know, so where would that land in that area?
Right. And how much can you do with that money?
Well, and that's right. And then you have two schools of thought, because we had this huge conversation recently about, do you cut your cloth to the size of what people are willing to put out? Or do we, and that's a hard thing, because what can people afford?
Right.
And especially, you're right, in post-COVID world, what is it going to look like?
Right. You know, I mean, yeah, I don't know building costs right now. It's not something I've researched, but you know, it's, I'd hate to put a number out there that, you know, if you know, whatever it is, and then it's like, oh, well, we can only do, you know, you guys wanted a gym, a fitness center, and some multi-purpose rooms, but we can only give you some multi-purpose.
It might be the first phase, but at least we've gotten that money much cheaper than we would have.
Right.
And that's, I think that has to be part of the
Okay.
mix.
So like a phased approach. Okay.
I mean, it would be great if
No, I mean-
life was
Yeah.
different. It's just, and I think, it's just, we have this opportunity, and we might as well figure out where people's heads are. The more, I think the more information we give them, it's just a great opportunity for feedback.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, so you'll circulate those question 11 back to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was just 11. That was our big one.
It was 11, and then the one about, would you be willing to pay a fee, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that-
there were 3 of those. It was how much would you be willing to pay for a family member, or 4. How much would you be willing to pay for a family membership, a couple membership, a single membership, and how much would you be willing to take on as a tax burden per year or per month or something like that. They were all 4 questions. Kind of nice to hit everybody, but some people answered them all, and some people answered the one that applied to them, and some people didn't answer any of them. So it kind of depended.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yep.
So, is there any
Thank you.
is there any adjustments to the
I don't know.
agenda? Okay, anybody get any adjustments? No? Citizen comments.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm back.
Oh, you want to step up to the podium, please?
Oh, you want me at the podium?
Sure.
I can see you over there.
I'm sure we can hear you, though.
My name's Norma Hyde. I live on Caston Road. And I'm back because, if you'll remember, April 30th of 2019, Public Works cut the privacy hedge that I had on my property. I had brought photos and shown what was left behind. There's the brush, there's stumps, there's a broken plant pot. And I am still extremely upset about it. I was told that it had to be cut, it was within the right of way, and it had to be cut because Caston Road was being paved and there was ditching. And it was gonna be done that summer of 2019, it was not. The former chairman was like, we're gonna meet with you, that never happened, so I had come back in like, I think November, so it was like around 6 months after everything had taken place. And you know, we were in agreement. He was right that, you know, he had said he was going to contact me. They were going to meet and they were going to contact me, and that never happened. So after the November meeting and nothing was settled, my husband and I came in here. I happened to be in here doing some town business, and Julie popped out, saw me, said, "Hey, why don't we meet right now? I'll call John Daigle." So my husband was here as well. So the four of us met, and during this meeting, and I'm not doing this to throw you under the bus. I'm just
do what you got to do.
Julie said that she had repeatedly driven down Caston Road, and she has seen the mess that was left behind, and of which I have a lot of concerns, because it's not just like a level stump. They're like spikes. So if somebody was walking out there, not that they should be, but if we were out there doing some kind of work or something and somebody fell, who's responsible? Because it's my property, but apparently it's the town's right of way, and I didn't do that. And so we had this meeting, and Julie said that, you know, she's driven down, she's seen it, and that she has repeatedly called John Daigle, and he, you know, right there in this meeting, to my face, assured us that, oh yeah, I've sent people out, and, you know, they've met with her. Well, nobody's met with me, nobody's called me, or anything else regarding this issue. John Daigle, to the best of my knowledge, has never set foot on my property. He has never knocked on my front door and asked to meet with me or my husband. He can tell you that he has, but he has not. And I know this because my husband works a night shift. He's home mornings, I work days. There's 45 minutes that nobody's at my house. So unless John Daigle or whoever he has sent out has shown up all the time during that 45-minute period, nobody has been out there to speak to me or my husband. And I am refusing to clean this. It's not my job. I pay taxes to this town. And as a taxpayer, it was a department of this town that came and created this and did this. And I'm not cleaning it. And I'm not gonna go and do the stumps. That's not, John Daigle in this meeting assured me, well, it will be done in August. And I'm like, why August? Why can't you do it now? And I get, oh, well, we've got mud season, we've got this season, we've got this. Well, we didn't have a mud season this year. At the time we were meeting in December, the ground wasn't even frozen, it hadn't snowed, and I very nicely said, all it would take you right now to make me one little measure of happy, send one guy, one pickup truck, and at least clean up the brush. If you can't get to the stumps or anything else until it's time to start paving, fine. Did he do it? No. He said he would, but he didn't. He also said that he would get back to me on what the rod measurement is for right-of-way on Caston Road, because when I originally came in here, Daryl McKinney, Julie, and I looked at a map, and Daryl's like, well, this property goes by 2 rods, and yours goes by 3. So there's no consistency on Caston Road as far as a rod measurement, as far as right-of-way. And I drive down this road every day, and I look at other houses that have hedges, and they have plantings, and they're all within the right-of-way, and not one thing has been cut except my property. And I want to replant it, and personally, I don't think I should have to pay to have it replanted. And if I can't have it replanted because it is in the right-of-way and it has to be cut, then so does everybody else's. Because this is just ridiculous to me. My son, and my daughter, this was my kid's playground. This is now another 2 summers that I could have done my gardening, I could have done this, I could have done that. It's another 2 Christmases that I could have decorated, because that's what I did with it at Christmas. I put lights and everything out there. I haven't been able to do that because I don't have it anymore. And I really don't see, I've never had a ditch in front of my property. It's flat. So I don't see why it had to be cut in the first place. But I want this issue taken care of, because basically John Daigle lied to my face repeatedly. And I don't appreciate that. I pay taxes, I pay his salary. I think that all things considered, I've been pretty damn decent about this, letting it go this long. And I mean, it's And it shouldn't have gone this long. It should have been taken care of immediately when I first brought it to the town's attention.
So, if I can,
Yep.
John did at that meeting say he would get back to her about the rods, because that is a concern. And I vaguely remember Daryl saying the same thing, it was 3 and 2. And I don't know if the idea is to widen the road there, I don't know, but John definitely will have to get an answer for that. And I did, after I got your email, and I apologize, my emails
Yep.
didn't send last week,
Right,
but
we
I
talked
did,
about
two of them. But I did talk to John, and John said that he would like the select board to go out and take a look at this. So I think you have Norma asking you to, you have John asking you to. I think we have to get a meeting of the minds, but he definitely owes her the explanation as to the rods. And when it's going, I will tell you, we did award the bid,
Right.
but,
Well, see,
but the later we get into September,
the less it's gonna get done.
right, so I'm getting scared.
Now, I
that-
wanna know who's gonna win. I've got at least two more things to say. Maya Drapkin and I have a bet, because of course, August has come and gone. Now, he was told the pavement was gonna be done in October. We shook on this. I said it won't get done. He said it will. So,
Well, my understand, when we awarded the contract, it was all supposed to be done by
oh, I
October.
know. So here's
And Hager's doing it.
Here's the part that I didn't get a chance to tell you today, and this is the part that really, and I'm gonna be blunt, pisses me off, is that in May, the town Public Works Department was on Kastner Road with a truck and a chipper. And I know this because I stood at the end of my driveway and I watched them go by me twice. And not once did anybody say a word to me, and they did not stop. They didn't touch anything, nothing. I stood right there, watched them with a wood chipper and a truck. So basically, in my honest opinion, John Daigle's in the middle of a pissing contest.
What's the address?
700 Kastner.
Probably can't miss it if it's that messy.
And if you plug it into your GPS, I hate to do this, depending upon which direction you come from, if you come from Route 235, I don't know if it happens both directions. I know that if you come from Route 235, you plug it into your GPS, it stops you at David McDougall's and you can enjoy the painting in the road there. Because for some reason, it doesn't go any further than that, so I'm a little bit further down on Kastner.
If you're coming from 235, though, you're on the right.
I'm on the left.
Oh, I'm
if
sorry.
you come from
235, you're on the left.
I'm
If
on
you
the
come-
left. I'm before Maya Drapkins and near Evelyn and Les Krause, and they're right next door.
And do you have a number on your house?
Yes, there is on my mailbox. I've got the nice blue
Yeah,
town sign.
okay.
It says 700.
That'll work.
And and I think the problem is, one, is that there was no follow-up about the rods. And that's a good question, is if everybody else is 2 and you're 3, are we
Or if you've got
widening?
half the road 2 and half the road 3. I mean, there's just if it's
Right.
not consistent.
Right, I think we definitely owe you an explanation for that one, and you're right, we left that for a long time. And I think,
And I get COVID.
well, it's not even a COVID issue,
Right.
we were ditching, thinking we were going to pave, and then we
Right.
didn't, and now we're another year into it, and the select board and the budget committee were very clear about paving.
Right.
Very clear about paving, and they wanted to ensure that it happened this year, which is why they awarded the contract.
Right.
And it was a bifurcated contract, so that a portion of town that was before you was
Yeah.
gonna be done in the summer, and then a portion, and then you guys were going to be done
In the fall.
in the fall. It
And
looks like
I
now
get
it's all
that.
fall,
Right.
again,
But you will note that I did not email you until after town office hours on August 31st. I said, there you go. August
I
is
did
coming
notice
on.
that, and I responded to you, not knowing that when we went live on the 1st
Right.
with our website, that our email was hooked in. So
Right.
I sent a lot of emails last week that nobody got.
Yeah.
And then when I saw your number today, I was like, I was right in the middle of having a conversation with somebody, and you hung up before I could, and I called you right back.
Yes,
I was
you
like,
did.
gotta call you right back. So
But it's upsetting to me that, I mean, John, like I said, he called when this first happened. I spoke to you like May 1st or 2nd of 2019. John Daigle did call me that Thursday after everything happened. It was like May 2nd. I gotta remember when prom was. So he did call me that Thursday, and he said he would come out and look at it. And to the best of my knowledge, he never has. And like I said, my husband doesn't go to work till 1:30, and I get out of work at the high school at 2, and I'm home by 2:15 at the latest. So there's only, whatever right there. So, again, it really, and then, so it bothered me that he lied about saying he's been out there or somebody's been out there. And then seriously, in May, when I watched that crew go by me twice, I mean, I'm surprised the Caston Road didn't go up in flames. I was that mad, seriously. And I mean, so I will say that right now it doesn't look as bad as it did when it first happened, because we've had a winter, so I've had plowing, we've had wind blow stuff, but I haven't touched it. I refuse. I won't let anybody in my family touch it.
So everybody will go out and look at it. I'll look at it again.
Okay.
I was actually down there recently because we've had so much painting on the roads.
And there's, there's a stone wall there, and I was getting ready before it got torn, taken down. I was getting ready to, put my spring stuff out, so I put a plant pot out there, and next thing I know, that's broken because it got hit. And, and I get right-of-way issues. I really do. I'm not stupid in that sense, but I'm still trying to figure out why that had to come down for a place that's never been ditched before to be ditched, and for paving to be done. It literally makes no sense. I've never had an issue, and I've been there 25 years. Nobody's ever had an issue with that hedge being there or anything else. And this was the first time, and it's just upsetting because that thing had been growing for well over 20 years, and we maintained it. It's not like it was in the way. It didn't get in the road, didn't get in the way of plowing or anything to do with the town. I've got trees that go out over the road, and that hedge was back beyond that.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Norma.
Thank you, Norma.
And will I see you this year?
You will,
All right.
the 29th
Okay.
through the 8th.
Any other citizens' comments? Max?
Nope, just Ruben saying hi.
Okay. Any select board comments? Katie?
No, I'm all set.
Colonel?
No.
Jan?
I don't have anything. Except
Neither do I.
Something, but I'm gonna take a ride. I have to go down T35 tomorrow.
Okay, town manager's report. You're killing me on my 7 o'clock
I know, I
time frame.
am.
You're
I'm so
killing me.
sorry. I'm killing you. I made Marcus talk too long. My issue for the day is we launched our new website. Please visit it. Give us your feedback and pictures. We want pictures because we'd like to keep it fresh. And hopefully we want pictures of Waldoboro. I had a couple people send pictures in, and they are not of Waldoboro. They were of their vacations all over the country, but we want Waldoboro-centric pictures.
We have great sandy beaches here.
Well, I knew it wasn't because of the mountain view, so please keep them to Waldoboro pictures. Also, we did get requests for a couple more links to different places in town, and that is one thing that's different. We link to, we're not linking directly to businesses, we are linking to nonprofits, but the Waldoboro Business Association is linked, and you can go from there. So that's what we're really trying to focus on is things that are good for the community. And our businesses are good for our community. It's just, I don't want to get into having to update that list as they come and go. So the Waldoboro Business Association provides that information. So please visit that. We did have email issues last week. So if you emailed us or left us a phone message, because our phone messages go to our email, and you have not gotten a call back or an email back, please contact us again. We're functioning now, but I apologize for that. But with the launch of the site, we didn't realize a couple of little intricacies of the system, and we've addressed those. And that's all I have.
Okay, cool. Somebody want to make a motion to
Can I
approve
just
this?
add- I just have to-
Sure. Oh, sorry about that.
On your your report, under cemeteries, there are people that take care of these.
Yes. Oh, that's the other, we had a request about one of the cemeteries in town. Yes, we do take, there are people who do take care of them, and we referred that to the people who take care of that particular cemetery. Unfortunately, the person who was requesting that was not from town, was doing genealogical research at their older ones. Again, it's not something that we really handle, and I explained that to her, but it's something that I just want us to be aware of.
Okay.
That she felt that the grass, and I did contact the people, they do mow it 2 to 3 times a year, and she told me when it was mowed, and I think the woman that was there, of course, the week right before it was mowed.
Mhm.
So.
Okay,
All set, Katie?
thank you.
Somebody make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? No correspondence or anything?
I don't have.
Okay. All those in favor? Cool. New business.
We received a request from Miller School to use the recreation fields, and I will tell you, this is because they need more room to spread out because of the COVID-19. They're requesting Miller School be granted the ability to use Waldeboro Recreation Complex during school hours, 8:45 to 3:15, for instructional and/or recreational activities. It'll provide more time outdoors, and it will help them meet the guidelines as required by the Department of Education. And they gave examples: physical education classes, mask breaks, and academic times. So we don't really run any recreational programs
During
during
school
school hours, so I think that would be appropriate.
Do you want a motion for that?
Yes.
Somebody like to make a motion to allow the school to use it? Is there a second?
Second?
Any more discussion?
Just a question, is there any liability issues with that? Or do they fall under the school purview?
Well, again, it's one of those things. They'll provide us with their insurance as an added, but again, if something happens, it's going to happen. It's unfortunately, we can't really get them to sign a COVID waiver like we're requiring, like when parents sign up their kids, but it is what it is. I mean, I think that from a personal property damage and things like that, or a liability issue, will be added on their insurance. So that if anything were to happen, their insurance would go first and ours would go second.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Request from Jeff Hurd, DBA The Narrows, for extension of license on premises.
So this came up and we had to do a little research on this. They came in to talk to Stan about doing an event outside, which we thought when Stan came in, it was a one-time event, which it would be a mass gathering permit and all of these, it would just be a one-off. Then Jeff called back and asked me a bunch of questions about the liquor licensing. So I called the state, and what he can do, but it needs approval from you guys as the select board and girls, was a request for extension of an on-premise license. So this would allow him to have seating outdoors, and it's not in the front, it would be in the back in the parking lot. Now, that onus is on him to get permission from, written permission and everything from that property owner.
He doesn't own
He doesn't own that. He'd have to
That's-
get it from the property owner. That's between him and the property owner. Our issue becomes, do we have a problem with him extending that premise to outside?
So I'm looking here, this is the back of the buildings?
Yes.
Okay. And this might be his little, I don't know, is that the right of way? Probably.
From my understanding is it extends to, I don't think it extends past, you know that tree that's in the back?
This tree right
Yeah,
here.
do you know where I'm talking about?
I think I do.
Yeah, it goes a little bit, I'm gonna say a little bit past that.
Okay, so he wants to set up tables, is that it? Out in the back,
Yes,
and that would take up some of the parking
yes,
space.
I believe it would.
Okay,
To set up what? Tables.
He wants to be able
Outside dining.
to have some outside dining and consumption, because there, I mean, honestly,
good idea.
it's a very small space.
Small.
We had talked about maybe closing Friendship Street. We got
Yeah.
pushback from
yeah,
the pharmacy and
Yeah.
a couple other businesses, but in the back, it would be an area where
where people could, yeah,
could enjoy the tavern, and many towns have done this. This is a bit of a different,
yeah, it's just a different format. so
it's a
that
different
people- yeah.
format, and the state made it a little bit easier for license holders to get it approved. It's just because he doesn't have outside
Space, yeah.
premise.
Yeah.
We haven't approved that once
Yeah.
already. It would need to be approved now.
Could we do that with the approval with him getting landowner permission?
Yes, we could,
From,
right.
Yeah.
does there somebody want to make a motion for that?
And we haven't had any complaints, I did, just so you know,
Well,
I did.
I've been hoping, I haven't been in, but, I haven't been in, but
But I heard the renovations are beautiful.
I've heard that. But
Mhm.
I would much feel more comfortable eating outside. So, and you
And
can gather with friends where I
Right,
wouldn't
and
a
honestly,
group
I
of-
mean, it's, a lot of people love the tavern, and I think they wanna support it, and I know there was a lot of questions, we got a lot of questions about, when they were renovating, is it, are they opening back up, and we were like, yes, it's just a renovation, and
Yeah.
now, I think that,
I think outside eating would be a real added thing. I think he could get a lot more business, and we don't have much business downtown.
Is this
think
a
we wanna
one-time
keep it.
event? or-
no, this would be
Just an extension?
just an extent, it would be for him to be able to serve outside.
No, this would just,
And this isn't for a one-time event. It started out like that, but then he's like, well, I'd like to see how the one-time event goes. And I was like, well, just get it before the select board now, so that you don't have to wait.
but this will also have to come back up for his renewal
In his
next year,
renewal
so-
next year, it will be different,
So, this is just until. his-
And I did call and check to make sure we gave him the right form and everything.
Is it in this area right here?
Yes.
Where the tree is?
Yes.
He wants to set up tables.
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea.
So in theory, somebody could drive in the back parking lot, park wherever they can, come up, find a table and sit down.
Mhm.
And then a waiter would come out, take their order.
Right. Right, and
then
it
their
can't
order would be
leave,
brought
it
out.
can't, he's not doing, just so we're very clear on this, this is not drive up, get your liquor and leave. Like, I can tell you that can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, in Maine, people are ordering and doing the drive up but it's allowed.
Yeah.
He's not asking for that.
Right.
This will be controlled service, you'll get carded, it's,
What I
It's
was
very
thinking about
legitimate.
was, the stairway coming from upstairs is very narrow, very steep. You take a corner, and then another step down, and then you walk by a narrow hall, take
Yeah.
another left, go
now
out
people
onto
will be
a.
able to come right back.
It's really not very safe down there.
Well, I think Jan's on the right. I think people, if they could pull up into that back parking lot and have it, I'm envisioning those nice Edison lights hung up, strung up outside, and it'll just be nice.
Yeah.
I would walk myself.
Is there enough parking back there to do this?
Yeah. At the parking lot.
It's pretty good size.
I know, but half of the parking lot's gonna be dining.
Well, there's
Well, this is
still
just a
more.
small
That's
part.
just a small part of it.
Just the width of the
There's
building.
also the
Just
the
behind.
Coon parking lot,
Across the
or,
road.
excuse me, because this caused a lot of contention at one point, the Coon parking lot or the Taction parking lot, however you know it by.
I know it by the Grange Hall parking lot.
Okay, I know it as the Coon parking lot. Some people know it as the Taction lot.
Yeah.
That is a public lot, and
Right across.
so you could also park there.
Okay.
And there's parking, but you're right.
Well, along the street.
But I think people will enjoy being able to just park in that lot and walk in.
Yeah.
So this is just behind his building,
I believe it
Yes.
might, but
because it
I'm
looks
trying
like.
to figure out, because doesn't he own the property next door to it? Might extend to that.
No, he owns
No.
further down. He owns behind number 9.
Yeah.
He owns the number.
But I just thought, my advice to him was get it before you guys, so you guys could approve or
Well,
deny
there's
it.
been talk numerous times about doing something behind the block rather than on the front of the block, but to try to do things in the back, because that opens up a whole area of business, and there's parking there, and now we have, what's it called? The restaurant down there.
The kebab.
Yeah, the kebab place is down there, and then with something else, and that might entice.
I think it would
Something
be
else
a
back there.
very nice thing.
I can see those lights, and.
Can you see those? I can see those lights.
I can see that, yeah.
I can see those lights.
So you still have your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I hope it's before snow flies.
I think he was trying to do it fairly quickly.
Old business, personnel policy.
I sent out the personnel policy to everybody. I got one comment back, and it was from the union. They would like to keep, because it's a personnel policy, even though they have a separate contract. They would prefer, at least from what I understand from Tom Bartunik, they would like to keep Indigenous Peoples' Day and not take the Christmas Eve off. So that would be for, and that's what their contract says, Indigenous Peoples' Day. And they could have, because they'd like to keep that, that's their last holiday before they can't take time.
Oh, okay.
So that makes sense to me, but in the personnel policy, which is for the rest, non-union people, we would work Indigenous Peoples' Day and then take Christmas Eve off. And I think that works because, like this year, Indigenous Peoples' Day is right in the middle of when we're gonna have a lot of election things going on, so as long as we're good with that, that was the only comment that I received officially from the union, and no other employees contacted me. It was distributed or PEG about it.
But it's in their contract, so they shouldn't be an issue anyways.
It's not an issue,
right.
but I don't think they understood some of the overlap between because there are portions of the personnel policy that apply to them, but if it's covered in the contract, it doesn't, so it's a little overlapping. And as long as you guys are fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
So do you want a motion to approve it? So
Yes, I do. I need a motion to
Would
approve.
somebody like to make a motion to approve the personnel policy?
Make a motion to approve the personnel policy
Is there a second?
manual.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Okay, it'll be good to get that done.
Friendship Street School lease.
I did get the lease done, and I sent it out to Head Start, and they didn't get it because it was an email sent to go out. So they literally, it was just delivered to them today, so it'll be on the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll put that under items for the next agenda.
There are hiking trails down behind that, when you mentioned them behind Sylvania, about the cliffs. Behind Friendship Street School, there are
Yes.
hiking trails that go down.
Yeah.
I used to be able.
The only other thing that we did with that is they requested that we close the playground during school hours to the general public. Before COVID, sometimes people would come let their children play. The problem becomes that then they have to clean it.
Clean it, yeah.
So they prefer if we could just keep that closed, and I had said yes to that because that made perfect sense
for
to me.
COVID.
Do we need to put a sign up or something?
We're going to put a sign
Yeah.
up, so.
When that's all over, maybe it'll be open again to,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but their concern was
Yeah.
they clean it in the
Yeah.
morning and then somebody comes, they gotta
Yeah,
clean it
clean
before
it
the kids
again.
can go back
yeah,
out.
makes sense.
Is there anything else anybody would like on the agenda for the
Oh,
next
wait,
meeting?
we gotta go over the questions.
Questions,
I
Right.
thought that's what Marcus was,
his portion.
just his
He
portion,
just did
okay.
his portion.
Okay, all right,
So
sorry.
do you guys, so what we're going to see, and we'll have the actual questions for the next meeting. The first question will obviously be refinancing, about $1.5 million. And I did send you in your report that you probably didn't get 2 different samples. One was from Kennebunk and another was, I forget the name of the town. One was a very simple question with a very basic explanation, and then there was one that was more of a longer question with a longer explanation. But I thought a blend of both of those would be good. So I think what the original question will say, the first binding question will be, shall the town refinance existing debt through the purchase of bonds? And that's a yes/no question. And that's binding. We get more complicated when we get into dealing with a community center. And like Marcus was saying, he'd hate to put out the wrong number. So I think we have 2 ways we can go with that. Is we can go with a ballpark number of $3 million, knowing that we have to have designs and things like that done. But at least we have that money earmarked for that project. And we could provide 2 different, an either/or question. So you could say, shall we fund it at this level or shall we fund it at that level for which bonds will be sold? And that's the language basically that I sent out to Lee today, because he's our town, our bond attorney, to figure out if that's appropriate. So those 3 questions pretty much, does that sound fair to you? And then those to me were the binding, those would be the most, the binding questions. The other questions we are going to have, thanks to Max, and he can stand up for his portion because he has some land use questions we're going to put on.
Yes. So I have very good news. The Land Use Committee is on track, getting 3 questions on the ballot, all land use related. The first is to repeal our current ordinance and to put in this lovely piece of junk right here. This will be the new land use ordinance to conform with the 2018 comprehensive plan. A version of this can be found on the town website. Just go to the front page and you should be able to click a link that will get you the PDF. You can also get a viewing of it. If you give me a heads up, I can set up a place here for you. The second item is the creation of the floodplain management ordinance. This is literally just what our current floodplain article is now, but as its own separate document. Again, you can find a copy of this on the town website.
That Max posted by himself.
I posted by myself. And then the third item is a zoning change for the 80 Gray School to put that in the historic village as opposed to what it is now in the regular village. The only reason this is being done is just because of what I said a few weeks ago of putting this on the National Register. We just want to have it in the district now so that it meets those so that we have architectural standards for whenever something happens to it, and also so that we can reduce the density requirements that Volunteers of America will have to go through with having 32 units on that. This is so we can pretty much let them have the school and we can still do whatever we want with the fields without having to worry about any restrictions like that. Again, you'll find it on the website with everything else. I will just give an update because I mentioned the marijuana ordinance last meeting. We just had the meeting today, and we're likely not going to have, and we are not going to have that on the November warrant. We just got through the first draft, and there's probably a lot of work that's going to have to go. We'll have to do. I have to have an attorney look at it. Going to make sure the Office of Marijuana Policy is fine with it. A lot of checks we're going to have to do. But those are my 3 things.
I got a question for you, Max, on the shoreline zoning. You remember when we had issues with one of my properties that was incorrectly zoned for shoreline zoning?
Because there was a conflict between it being in the Route 1 district.
Right,
also.
correct.
Yes.
Commercial, it was Route 1 commercial district.
Right.
Did that ever get fixed?
That should have been fixed when the shoreline ordinance was updated a year ago.
Okay, I was just curious.
And if anyone has any questions about these 3 items, they can contact my office. The Land Use Ordinance Committee is going to be meeting next Monday on the 14th for one last read through of this. And then on the 16th, we're going to be holding a public hearing, a required public hearing, with the planning board at 6 p.m. That is the last public comment period to insert some new language. And for both those meetings, there are Zoom options for people who want to participate remotely. I also encourage people to read it ahead of time and send me their questions in ahead of time. And then we'll hopefully have this all ready for you on the 22nd.
Cool. Have we got any questions, Max, or anything? Anybody, any comments?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
So that's, we'll have 6 binding questions on the ballot, which is great. And I think what I'd like to see is we'll firm these up. You can vote on them at the next meeting on the 22nd, but I'd like to schedule a public hearing on the 29th, if that's okay with all of you, so that we can have the hearing prior to when the ballots actually go out. For our local ballot questions. And again, just for the public's edification, we're taking this opportunity when we're going to have expected phenomenal turnout to really gauge the pulse of the town on certain items. And those would be, so far, what we have, which will be great. Also, what we'd like to do, so that will be one side. If I'm also trying to ascertain, does it have to be can it be two-sided with binding on one and non-binding on the other, or should it be two separate? And the non-binding questions then become, and I'll start with what Marcus had said, is their question 11 again, from their perspective. And also, I do think there will be a component to upkeep of this. And again, we're getting our cart a little bit ahead of our horse here, but I think knowing what people would be willing to contribute to participate is a good question. So we'll craft that. Max, did you have any other non-binding questions you wanted to address?
Volunteers of America having 80 grand?
Yeah.
Or us selling the property to Volunteers of America?
Do you want to make it that specific, or make its use specific?
What do you mean?
Well, I think it should say Volunteers of America, and I think it should describe what the project is, like
Right.
32 housing units.
Right, selling the property to Volunteers of America to convert them to senior housing.
Now, do we get tax dollars out of that as soon as it's turned over to them? Where they're a nonprofit?
They're nonprofit, but we're right now paying nothing on it because we own it. Once we give it to them, and then they make their improvements, I mean, it comes down to the financial items that they're doing. I can't answer the taxes right now,
I was just curious if,
but they will have to pay property tax.
well, that's what I was wondering, is,
Do we,
that's what I mean.
right, do we want to actually specify, so say something happens and it's not
Fully senior.
them, and just say,
Would you approve of?
and it's not really selling at a dollar, it's gifting in a way.
I guess the question, I don't know, this is something I guess we think about.
Well, we can discuss it at the next 80 Gray meeting too.
Right.
But I just think that it's more incumbent upon what we're doing versus who we're doing it with. Does that make sense to you?
Well, the reason I want to say us selling it to Volunteers America for the senior housing project is because that's sort of that's pretty much what we're doing. If Volunteers America wants to step away at any point, I feel we're gonna be back at square one.
Okay.
Doing an RFP. And the whole point is Volunteers of America is doing it. I think that's what some
Okay.
people have been very enthusiastic about, that it's them instead of
An unknown
Everybody.
person.
an unknown person, yeah.
Okay. I got you. Okay. Anything else? I should have kept you up there.
Not that I can think of right off the top of my head. I mean, I have plans, but they're more years later now.
Years and years later.
Years and years later. The magical time of
Did anybody between, I know we talked about this last time, but did anybody think of anything else that they'd like to get the pulse? I haven't gotten any public comment about that. Nobody's sent me anything.
About the what?
I haven't gotten any public comment. We asked the
Oh,
last time if you
yeah.
have anything that you think.
Yeah.
I really think it's just a golden opportunity. If you think of anything between now and next week, please let me know. And the same goes for the
Anything?
public. Yeah, I mean, it's non-binding questions. We can get the
Okay.
pulse of what the town is thinking.
Is that it?
That's it. I mean, anything with the budget, anything like that you might, we're good.
Are people gonna know when they read these, questions like the bonding?
Well, that's why I sent you those examples. There are statutory requirements when it comes for the bonding portions that we have to be very specific. But I thought Kennebunk did a really good idea of explaining at least the refinance bond of this is what the estimated savings are, and I
Okay.
liked that. But
Yeah.
I want to make sure that's appropriate.
Okay, yeah, that's what,
Because I thought that would be a good thing to say, this is what it would have cost if we did nothing, and this is what it will cost with refinancing.
right, okay.
And
yeah,
then
that's good.
with the bond, it would be this very specifically says, I'd like to say, this is what the cost will be per year. I don't want to project that will make the taxes go up or down.
Yeah.
Because that's all set on the mill rate and other things that could
Okay,
happen.
those explanations I think would be good.
I
for
think,
people.
and I
There are
think
those
that's
who
one
say
of the
bond,
things.
no, immediately.
Well, in doing a lot of research on this,
Yeah.
just like we amended for years, Glenn, help me out, he's a clamor. Glenn Melvin. Great, I had,
Wow, I can't believe you, I'm gonna have to tell him. that you
oh,
brought
that's, no, please don't. I'll be in such trouble. I had a brain problem. I was thinking Glenn Melvin and Melvin Williams. Sometimes
yeah.
I do that, I get them confused.
Well,
But
I can
Glenn
understand
Melvin, remember how he wanted the explanation
Yes, it's not taxpayer.
that it's not taxpayer dollars?
yeah.
That helped a lot of
Yeah.
people. And the more I've been reading is there is some, we have some leeway with that, and I think we should avail ourselves of that
Right,
more.
okay, good.
Just to give people more information.
Yeah, just so they know,
Mhm.
yeah, because we see, oh, money, taxes are going up,
Right,
and not seeing the savings
Right.
there, the bigger picture.
right.
Okay, that's good.
Cool. Does anybody have anything for the agenda for the next meeting, other than the Friendship Street School lease?
We ought to take a group photo of us.
We should, because that would be nice to have on the
Doesn't have to be an
website.
agenda item. You just-
No.
Yep.
And I
Next
also
meeting.
think, well, you won't be here for the next meeting.
No, I will for the next one, I won't be here for
Oh.
the 29th.
The 29th. For the next meeting too, I had asked you guys by email to update your biographies for the website. So you sent me one. Jan got
got
her
it.
old one today to recycle it.
You got it?
I did.
Were you able to open it?
Yes,
Awesome.
I did.
I brought a copy with me, thank God.
Oh, okay, I was able to open it. If you could update yours.
Not
I think
really.
the only thing mine's updated is from
We
the
could-
chair, or vice chair.
Well, we can update your background. It's like, I don't know if you even remember what you wrote.
It's been-
Okay, so I'll, just let me know if you need help with it, but I thought it would be nice just to have on
yeah, that's fine.
each thing. And the only other thing I had was,
He almost died.
we are putting on the back of the tax bill, because it won't cost, I was mistaken at the last meeting. We have our tax bills printed and mailed. We don't touch them. I thought we
okay.
stuffed them. I seem to remember that we
Okay.
stuffed them, but it was another place in time. Because I'm getting older and my memory's failing. But I do offer, dear taxpayers, it's gonna go on the back of the bill. And it just updates the taxpayers on the fact that we cut money and revenue
Yep.
from the budget. So that we were able to keep the tax rate flat. And I also go into that we realize there's an impact on the services that you have become accustomed to in the town office. And I bring up, due to the budget cuts, we are operating on a 4-day work week. We lost 2 employees to cuts, and another was reassigned duties. Although access for walk-in service was and remains limited, you can still conduct all necessary business. And I just go on, I point out that we have rapid renewal now, online vote registration. And at the end, I do put this in. This is not ideal. You know it and we know it. But rest assured, we are truly doing everything we can to make it an easy and as quick as possible. We have some wonderful dedicated staff who have been here each day during this entire time serving the public. Again, a big thank you to all those folks who have been understanding. We very much appreciate your kindness. So, you know,
That's good.
I go through, because this way at least it might reach more people, Katie, like you're saying, how do we reach people?
Yeah.
Hopefully when they turn over their bill, they'll see this.
Put a great big, in yellow,
Over.
over.
Okay, I can do that. So, again, we're doing, I hate this saying, we're doing the best we can, but we really are. And I have to point out, we actually got flowers last week from a resident, and it was very kind on a day where we really needed to get flowers. So some nice, we got beautiful sunflowers and some phlox. I believe it was phlox, so.
Any comments, Max?
Nope.
All good?
Make a
Everyone else?
motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?